Streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Another afternoon of fantastic sports talk in the Flower City. We welcome you into the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, TuneIn apps, and also on our YouTube channel and Twitch stream. You can find us and follow us at The Fan Rochester. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
So you have friends outside of the area, as do I. And as you listening right now would imagine too. Did you get this? Because I got this all last night. The hell is wrong with your franchise? Like, here is this on display for everybody to understand that, yeah, it's dysfunctional. Maybe it always has been. And the shield known as Sean McDermott is actually gone. So I was taking texts and people just kind of confused outside the area.
I mean, I had a guy reach out to me saying, I hear Josh Allen wants out. I don't know where he's hearing that, but that's the rumor. Josh Allen wants. I'm like, I am not hearing that. I don't know where that's coming from. If people are hearing that because, or they're trying to draw a conclusion because of how bad yesterday went, I would be like, I guess you could draw that conclusion, but that's not, and nobody's reporting that. But yes, to answer your question, yes. Bills fans far and wide, football fans far and wide. You know, I've consumed a lot of the national people that have covered this. I mean, it was a national story. It was a press conference that was 45 minutes long, and it was awkward and clumsy and damning and embarrassing, frankly. I mean, that is the owner of your team, and when he speaks, it becomes very, very hard to root for him.
This is why he shouldn't speak, honestly.
Like, we don't need to hear from NFL owners.
But if you're a billionaire, who's saying no to you? Like, this is the culture of yes men that he has created. Like, somebody should have said, hey, I know you want to be front-facing, but the way to do that yesterday, read the prepared statement. And if you're going to take questions, you cannot be emotional. You cannot cut off your own GM. You just got to just play it straight. He needs media training. That's simple.
Well, or he needs a guy like Sean McDermott. When they brought in McDermott, this was one of the issues. Because I think the last time we had this conversation was the Doug Whaley press conference where everything was messed up and he didn't know who was doing what and wasn't privy to this and wasn't privy to that. And I remember bringing in McDermott. Terry actually said, we want one voice for the organization. And McDermott was that one voice. Everything filtered through McDermott. And for what it's worth, I mean, we can debate whether or not we feel he's a good coach. I think he's a hell of a coach. But as far as his ability to handle a press conference, handle the media, give an interview, say the right thing, not embarrass himself or the organization, what was his one blemish? The Ty Dunn piece was a massive, massive blemish.
Yeah, and the digs blow up. I mean, it wasn't perfect. But ultimately, you actually kind of move past it. They won in Kansas City a couple weeks after, and the Bills made a run at the end of the year. And the June thing kind of lingered, well, because it's June, July, not much else to talk about. But ultimately, Sean McDermott knew how to speak to Western New York too.
Oh, for sure. And he got it. He got the culture of Western New York and of Buffalo right away. And we never heard anything bad about him. I mean, he became part of the community. He was part of the community. I hear horror stories from Chicago, from my friends in Chicago, from when Matt Nagy was the head coach. And Matt Nagy's kids were getting bullied in school because Matt Nagy was the head coach. You don't hear stories like that about Buffalo is the city of good neighbors, right? You don't hear that anything was wrong, that everything that guy did in the community and outside of football was he's just normal Sean. He's just a normal guy going to his kids' sporting activities.
Orchard Park High School.
Right.
His daughter plays softball and he's just being a dad, and by and large, people kind of left him alone. Now, did the kids have to endure some things? Probably, because they're kids. But we didn't have the Matt Nagy, and that stuff kind of caught out danger because somebody had it on video. Okay, I do kind of recall some of that. And who knows? I hope we never have a situation like that. But that is one of the things we don't really talk about as we should. Here, I'm going to include Rochester in this. It's a great place to live. It really is. If you're Sean McDermott, hey, I can go be the coach of an NFL team, drive 10 minutes, be home, drive another 10 minutes, and be at my kid's game. Okay, you can't do that in the major markets. It's not possible.
Well, yes, to answer your question. But I also think with each day that passes, this goes farther and farther in the rear view, and we get closer and closer to the season of hope and optimism once again. And maybe some of you won't get on board with that, and maybe as you get closer to week one, you're of the belief with all of the moves that they're going to make, starting with a new head coach, that they're going to be taking a step backward. But it's still a pretty good organization. It's despite the owner and the shenanigans and the structure and everything that's happened, it's still a pretty good organization. They've won a lot of football games. They've been a playoff team. They have arguably the best quarterback in the game behind center. And it's a hard thing for me to sit here and say, we don't even know the head coach, but it's a hard thing for me to say that it's going to take a horrible turn and they're going to be a 4-win team or a 6-win team. If it happened, we could point to earlier this week and say, "Oh, that's why." Yesterday was part of the reason why. I mean, are you surprised? Look at how dysfunctional they are.
Well, I would point to the history lesson here being the beginning of the drought, Mike Danger. At the beginning of the drought, the Bills are actually a good organization. They had John Butler, and they had not one but two quarterbacks, and they had future Hall of Famers on the roster, and then they let the Hall of Famers out the door. And then they had to, because they were up against the cap, the infancy of it, they had to make a decision on quarterback. And they let go the popular guy, all right? And to this day, I think they made the right decision. Problem was, it divided a fan base. It really did. You had people in our town wearing San Diego Chargers jerseys. And then everything became kind of I don't know. Like we like Rob, but I like the other guy better. What if Sean McDermott lands in a spot where he can compete? The more I'm thinking about this, don't go to Cleveland if you're Sean. You can't win there. Don't.
You see, Jesse Minter pulled his name out for the second interview. I don't know if that's because Cleveland's dysfunctional or because Cleveland has their guy.
I think because Minter knows he's going to Baltimore. But what if McDermott ends up in Pittsburgh? Like, what if he ends up in a place where, hey, you can see them being a playoff team? You don't think we're going to be paying attention, and wherever McDermott goes, guess what's going to happen? Hey, Jordan, hey, you, he's going to bring his guys. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, we're kind of divided here. People will stay loyal to the Bills, but that's going to feel like your ex, and the ex is happy. This is me projecting, seeing what the future could be like. So where you're saying, yeah, you still got Josh Allen, you still got the framework. Well, do you? This roster needs issues. Reserve judgment on that until after the draft and free agency before that, and we'll see who the next head coach is. And Armando Salguero will join us, by the way, in a little bit. And apparently they did have a press conference in Miami, and hey, we don't need to win the press conference, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's always kind of a big thing. Actually,
because they just had their new head coach introduced, right? Helfrich.
Right. And did Sean McDermott win the press conference? I think we're so numb to it by that point. The next head coach of the Buffalo Bills really has to win the press conference. They do. And to me, I have yet to hear the candidate that will get somebody excited? Who is that candidate? I see some people like, oh, yeah, I would like Dable, welcome him back. Or, yeah, let's give Davis Webb a chance. I don't know. To me, there's no unifying, let's go get this guy here.
I also think about when we talk about the roster, there are things on this roster that obviously need improvement, but there's also some positives that go beyond 17. You have a really good offensive line, great left tackle, phenomenal running back. Defensively, you've got a really good corner in Benford. You've got an emerging safety in Bishop. You got a lot of other holes. The defensive line, if Ed Oliver is healthy, we don't know what that looks like. We didn't see it this year.
So I'm going to push back on the offensive line because Connor McGovern is a free agent. David Edwards is a free agent. Your coach retired. Deion Dawkins had an okay season. Spencer Brown, when healthy, is good.
Yeah,
I mean they're gonna.
It's
gonna
a
look
bit
different.
of an unknown. It's a bit of an unknown, but based on what we've seen and how it's gone, it's been pretty good. So can you, if you're the new head coach of the Buffalo Bills, work with some of that, get the most out of that? And I would also say get Josh's head in a place where he's playing more like 2024 MVP Josh Allen and less like the version that we saw. This year's version was good, and by the way, he's a finalist for MVP. I mean, we for all of that,
Yeah.
he's still a finalist for MVP. For as bad as he looked in Denver and all of the turnovers and some of the head-scratching games and plays where it's like, ooh, bad Josh.
Well, mind you, playoffs don't count. This is just simply regular season,
Yes.
the 18 weeks.
Yes.
He did that with what at wide receiver?
Right.
But listening to yesterday, look, it wasn't Brandon Bean's
No,
fault.
it was good wide receivers.
Good wide receivers, and
They
that
just-
wasn't in the second year guy you
those
had. That's not-
WGR guys made me put pressure. I didn't want to put pressure on him, but they made me put pressure on him. Now I had this pressure on the wide receivers, and I had to go and get Elijah Moore after that interview. I already knew I had him, but I had to go get him. Yeah, the press conference left a lot of people reeling. They didn't do themselves any favors. They did not do themselves anything. They went from being where everybody would view them as the destination. You want to go there. You want to go there. That's a great spot. Are you kidding me? They're a playoff team. They have Josh Allen. And then you hear the owner and president of football ops, and you're like, ugh.
No, all he had to get up there and say was, I felt this team needed a new direction. I understand it's not popular, but trust us, and you will be excited, and we thank Sean, and he did do that. But to say that it was based off of the emotion, what he saw in the Denver locker room, okay. If we were doing the lie detector test, Danger, no. And if that's true, I still can't get over that. So let's just say that's actually true, that you made a decision based off of emotion.
Terrible.
What's
Terrible.
worse, lying or saying, or that's the truth?
Neither are great.
No.
Neither are great. And I still want to believe that before they ordered the code red, they have somebody in mind. They have somebody ready to go. They know they can get somebody who they consider to be an upgrade. I don't want to believe what they said yesterday, which is, no, we didn't think about it. We moved off of him and we're going to start now. Oh God, please no. Tell me you have an idea of what direction you're going with this head coaching search.
That could just be simply, we don't want to get fined for the Rooney Rule. We have to set an example. We're going to interview candidates. But if you're the Bills fan thinking, oh my gosh, yes, Kurt Signetti, Marcus Freeman, Kyle Shanahan.
Get out of here.
These are all pipe dreams. The fact that you're now emboldened new team president and GM, like this is where I keep coming back to. And I got so many thoughts. You want to join us at 866-4FAN. I know people are excited. Brian Dable interviewing today. Danger, I don't think he gets the job for this simple reason. Brian Dable is the type of guy that will challenge you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like you will want somebody in there that is malleable, somebody that can come in and just kind of fall into line. And this is where we're at. And to me, this kind of screams either Kubiak or Davis Webb.
Okay, so Under that, I would say probably more so Webb than Kubiak, because Webb knows all the parties involved, was a Buffalo Bill, knows Josh, knows Brandon, knows Mr. P. Kubiak, I still don't know what the connection with Kubiak is. There's always a connection. You know somebody, he worked with somebody. Is it somebody on Bean's staff?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out.
But I feel like that's being the son of Gary Kubiak, that he would be a little bit less likely to just bend over on a whim for what the coach or what the president of football operations wants you to be. That he would be himself. He would push back a little bit more. The thing that I keep going back to with Daboll. Imagine a guy at the University of Rochester, and one day I'm going to be the Buffalo Bills head coach. Like that
right.
is rattling in my brain as well. Like, what was that like back then when he was, at U of R, and only to think that someday I'm going to be the head coach of the pro football team in the area I grew up in. That's kind of cool.
Wow. That's how you would sell this to the fan base, right? Like, oh, he's coming back.
He's one of us.
He grew up. Look at his family here in the South Towns. And, hey, for you folks in Rochester, did you know?
Yeah.
I kind of think U of R athletics actually are not really based in Rochester. They're based in Rochester, Minnesota. Sorry, I had to get that dig in. Guys, be more relevant.
Oh. Well, Joe Brady had his interview yesterday, and yes, today it was Brian Daboll's turn to interview for the head coaching position. We know that Grant Udinski, the Jags OC, is going to interview with the Bills on Sunday.
Which, that's somebody else, 30 years old, malleable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, does he have a relationship with Josh Allen? No.
No. But at minimum, if you cast a wide net, maybe you can learn a little bit about how he thinks and what he's about. You could be seeing him again in the future, depending on whether or not he's in Jacksonville much longer. Speaking of Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence, go ahead and add him to the list of MVP finalists. Mentioned Josh Allen, the two favorites, Drake May, Matthew Stafford, Christian McCaffrey also in there as a finalist for MVP. But yes, the OC there in Jacksonville. Grant Udinski will be interviewing on Sunday with Buffalo.
The call we just took off the air, making this suggestion as soon as I bring this up, Danger. I know you're going to be like, no. The guy hasn't been in the league since 2003. Former Buffalo Bills quarterback Frank Reich.
Yeah, somebody else brought that up too on X. I think it was Chris in South Central Kentucky. You can reach out to us on Elon's Twitter, by the way. We're at the Fan Rochester. No, I don't like that idea at all. I do not like that idea at all.
He would have these same sort of genteel, I'm not heavy-handed, I'm going to just, calming influence. He did work for a wackadoo owner.
It would play to the older fan base, the older demographic of the fan base.
We don't need to do that.
I don't think we need to do that. Yeah,
no.
I agree. And I like I said, I've been saying through the coaching cycle, the NFL has a type. When they want to hire a head coach, you've had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, or you look like you stepped off the cover of GQ magazine. One of those two things.
You buck the trend, though. Like
with Brian Daboll?
Yeah. Or like this name isn't coming up in connection anyways to Buffalo, but what about McCarthy? The guy has won a Super Bowl, and I'm not going to ping him for not winning in Dallas.
I mean, what we hear about McCarthy is Pittsburgh, right? Like that feels like.
Well, he's from Pittsburgh,
right? He's a Yinzer, and if I think I saw across my feed, like the talk is McCarthy brings back Rodgers, and you run it back with McCarthy and Rodgers in Pittsburgh for another year.
Where else is Rodgers going to go at this point?
To a cave somewhere, darkness retreat for the rest of his life. Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out here. Interviews, I'm sure, scheduled every day and through the weekend. And, oh, by the way, it's Championship Sunday coming up here. And you got some action? You want some skin in the game? Don't worry. We got you covered. Our buddy PJ Glasser, sports bar betting expert, stops by the sports bar here at 425.
Our guy Greg writing in on X. I know we'll never know, but I want McDermott's reaction to that presser. Is it like kind of like an evil laugh? I would imagine probably McDermott turned to, he's just going off the radar. I don't think he's sitting down and turning on the radio and listening into that.
No, I think he's looking for another job.
Yeah.
And he'll get one. I'm fairly certain that guy can be a coach in the NFL in 2026.
Would it be better served, though, sitting this one out and you wait a year to 2027? See, if it's if the only job for him, say, is Cleveland, and I don't know, we really don't know much about these other openings, Vegas, Arizona, but say, like, that's it. I'm like, no, you know what? I think I'm good. I don't need to jump back right
Here's the job you wait on. Tampa. You wait on Tampa. I don't know. Has Tampa hired an offensive coordinator yet? They haven't, right? I don't think they have.
Not to my knowledge, no.
If you see Tampa hire like a Cliff Kingsbury, that's your head coach in waiting. I saw Bruce Arians, make an appearance. I think he was on McAfee, and he was dumbfounded by this move by the Bills. How do you get rid of that guy? How do you, just going off? And then
I guess we can't pine for Bruce Arians coming to Buffalo.
That ain't happening.
No.
But if he has any pull with his former team, maybe there's some sympathy there. Maybe it's hey, sit tight. You never know how this is going to go. Because I think Bowles, I can't believe he survived after the way the season ended for Tampa.
If he sits out, the Jets should go full court press on that.
Sure. Yes. Right. And he would be great for the Jets. Oh, my God. What we saw out of the Pagulas yesterday is as bad as anything we've seen from Woody Johnson and the Jets. Totally. McDermott cleans that up. He puts a shine on your franchise. He puts a shine on your organization. You can let him be that one voice, and he's not going to say anything shocking. He's going to say the right thing.
No, and if you start winning games, like he started winning games, it was kind of up and down that first year. We review it. But you got to the playoffs. That's the bar. Now, I'm advising don't go to Cleveland because, honestly, I don't think anybody can win there with that owner. You've got a quarterback situation that you're not going to be able to situate.
I don't know, Gino. I don't know. You're forgetting about Mr. P. I mean, we heard from him yesterday. That guy is on another planet, and that's as bad as they get. I mean, they're all bad. They, like we said at the top, we don't need to hear from NFL owners. I don't think ever. I think we're okay.
Armando Salguero, we invited him on, Dangerous. I really want somebody from a national perspective just to say, all right, what can you give us the context of what that was on a national landscape yesterday?
Yeah, and also in Miami, the Dolphins introducing their new head coach as well. So we'll get Armando's take on all of it. The AFC East, the Bills moving off of Sean McDermott. Armando Salguero from Outkick joining us next on The Fan Rochester. You can pull up a stool and join us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
So much action, we couldn't put it all. With Drake C. Toll. Afternoons with the Sports Bar. Bills, Sabres, and Amherst coverage all day. Tell your smart device to play 95.7 The Fan. The sports leader. The Fan Rochester. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
The latest on the head coaching search for the Buffalo Bills is former OC, former Giants head coach Brian Daboll interviewing formally today. Coming up on Sunday, interviewing will be Jags offensive coordinator Grant Udinski. Brandon Beane on what he's looking for.
This is a bigger job than just a play caller and a schemer. I think we've seen where guys have been excellent play callers, but they got to the head coach seat and they couldn't handle the adversity, the conflict management, all the things. It's a CEO job, so we got to make sure we get the leadership, the CEO part.
One other Bills note, Josh Allen is a finalist for NFL MVP. We'll get the thoughts of Armando Salguero from Outkick. Armando joining us next. Sabres hockey tonight here on The Fan as they're playing in Montreal. Our coverage will begin at 7. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah,
Can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story.
It's still it's shocking. Armando Salguero, Outkick, joining us in the sports bar. I know we're going to talk about what it takes to win the press conference and how it means absolutely nothing, but there are certainly ways to lose a press conference, Armando.
Yep. I had listened to that one. Actually, that topic, that subject was probably their one victory throughout that press conference, in that I came away convinced, based on what Brandon Beane said, based on what Terry Pagula said, that there wasn't a Brandon Beane power play. He didn't, stab Sean McDermott in the proverbial back, since proverbial was a popular word during that press conference yesterday. I came away convinced that those two guys, they look, no one agrees on everything, right? Right now, my wife is about 20 feet away, and when we hang up, she'll beat me, and I'll still love her, and everything will be fine. But we're still married, and I'm sure that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott had moments where, they disagreed and vehemently disagreed. But I don't think that Brandon Beane stabbed him in the back.
Well, if you go back to the beginning of the press conference, and ultimately this is an ownership decision if you're going to go move in this direction, and for Terry Pagula to say that he made up his mind based off of the emotion he saw in the locker room following a loss to Denver, are you buying that, Armando? Because if that's actually true, making a decision based off of emotion, that's one of the hang-ups we have here in Western New York right now.
That was weird. Because, one of the things that most leadership people in the NFL do is they give themselves, look, we give teams a cooling down period after a game to do interviews, right? The purpose of that is so they don't say stupid stuff. Most leadership around the NFL gives themselves a day or so to think about stuff if they haven't already made a decision. I would have felt better, and I'm sure that Western New York would have felt better if Terry Pagula had said, look, I went into that game already thinking that this was going to happen. And that just confirms my thinking. And you know what? He's the owner. He's the guy that paid $1 billion plus. He gets to make that decision. But to make the decision based on, you saw Josh Allen at his locker crying, and oh, by the way, you stood in front of Josh Allen and he didn't acknowledge you. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, the not acknowledging part was weird.
Why
That's
do you
like
have to throw that in there?
the little comes off a little narcissistic, almost like you didn't kiss the ring after a loss, and because of that, I've got to fire your coach.
And not only that, man, if I see, I don't have employees, obviously, but if I see someone that I care about and they are in some sort of emotional state, I don't just go and stand in front of them. I try to console. No, I mean, isn't that the human thing? Isn't that bro, let me put my arm around you, or let me give you space, but I'm not going to stand in front of you and just stand there. That's strange to me.
Armando, we're trying to connect the dots here. And full disclosure, I was not out in Denver. However, I have been for this group in locker rooms where they have ended the season. It's very somber, right? You had the divisional loss to Cincinnati and then Kansas City a few years ago. Nothing like this, though. Nothing open tears. And it wasn't just Josh Allen. It was Deion Dawkins. It was others. There were multiple reports of just the emotion, this after the cooling down. And if you're coupling that with, hey, Sean McDermott out of character, picks up the phone and calls the Buffalo News. And another thing, from the plane, it's like, wait a second, there's a lot of emotion and heat. But if you have that much emotion, is it fair to think that the players were so emotional because maybe they kind of knew their coach's job was on the line?
Well, I don't know if they knew, but I wrote at Outkick that whole Sean McDermott, I'm doing this for Buffalo.
Yeah.
That felt like, yes, he was defending the honor of, the franchise and the region, but also defending the honor of him. And he was the guy standing up. He does protest too much. And especially when the call from the plane, when he could collect his thoughts further and then go at it harder. I find it hard to believe that Sean McDermott didn't know that his job was on the line and he was maybe trying to make points that, you know what, I shouldn't lose my job over a call. And, you probably shouldn't. And he didn't, apparently, because he lost his job because, according to Terry Pagula, he lost confidence in the coach could get them over the top to win a Super Bowl.
So while we're picking at the scab, because it came up in the conference yesterday and Pagula, a bad call, he just interrupting again, and it's still very raw. Armando, what was your interpretation of what you saw on the field there with the Brandon Cooks? It wasn't a fumble. It looked like a catch, but it ended up being an interception in overtime there. Your interpretation of that play?
Guys, seasons end on bad calls, good calls all the time. No one is saying anything about the holding penalty in the end zone that would have been a safety, right? No one is saying anything about that in Western New York, right? I don't hear that being discussed, and yet that happened. It was clear. So to blame a loss and the end of a season on that call, that was, by the way, borderline and possibly even correct. I don't know, man. Look, the team with the better quarterback lost. The better team won. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it shouldn't come down to one call. Be better. We're talking to Armando Salguero from Outkick. As Armando, and this is kind of on Danger and I and others, like when we would go on other shows and everybody, the Bills don't win. Is Sean McDermott's job in jeopardy? And to everyone saying, no, he's safe. You don't understand it. We had it wrong here. So valuing your national perspective on this, how are the Buffalo Bills kind of viewed now? Are they kind of like the milk carton that might be right at its expiration date? Is this a good job? Or will we get past this week of a bad press conference and a firing and we'll get all excited for a new head coach? I mean, what is your view here of the Buffalo Bills franchise, Armando?
So this is not a view in a vacuum because it's not just about the Buffalo Bills. It's about if you pull it out 10,000 feet, there's a team in Boston, in New England, and in Foxborough now that they are in the AFC Championship game, and they are in the same division with the Buffalo Bills, and they won the division with the Buffalo Bills. So it's not like, is our window closing? No, it's not about windows closing. It's about their window is also opening because their quarterback is in his second year, and they've got cap space, and they're on the ascent. So it's up to the Buffalo Bills, who everybody agrees, as long as Josh Allen is on the Buffalo Bills will be, a good team. Are they going to be the Super Bowl favorites like they've been a couple of times in the last 5 years? Probably not. But it's up to Brandon Beane to turn the probably not, and now we've got to fight this other frickish team that, was so good for so long, went into a desert experience, and now they're freaking back again. How dare they? Don't they understand? They're supposed to be bad for about a decade. It's up to Brandon Beane to overcome and make that team as a team better. Find that closer on the edge who can end the game in the final 13 seconds. Find a wide receiver that does the crazy stuff and catches the winning touchdown, or doesn't come down and have the ball ripped from his hands. Find that guy. It's up to the people in the building. Who knows?
So, to that, I think Brandon's first order of business is finding the next head coach of the Buffalo Bills. We know Brian Daboll interviewed today. Opinions are mixed on that, Armando, as you would imagine. Joe Brady got his interview yesterday. That feels like it's a formality, and they're probably going to eliminate any remnants of the Sean McDermott era from this coaching staff. Where do you see it going down? How do you view this job, and who do you think the ideal candidate is for the Buffalo Bills head coaching job?
Well, I don't like the idea of now we're going to start over with Josh. I don't love that idea for the Bills because they've been pretty good on offense, regardless of whatever flaws the roster has had. On offense, they have been good when he doesn't turn the ball over 4 times. And so why are you going to run away from something that's been good? And that's where the whole, Dayball thing comes into play, because there's familiarity. Josh will know the offense. Veterans on the team will know the offense. It'll be familiar, and they'll, hit the ground running. I tell you, if they bring in a whole brand new coaching staff that's never been around, that there is no familiarity, there will be growing pains. It just happens. It is a fact. And so that I would hope would be to some extent considered by the folks that are going to pick the next coach. And I wonder if Josh Allen's going to bring that up, because he's obviously going to have some say in it.
Well, the arrows here would point to maybe Davis Webb, but you would have to wait another week. But then it brings us back to Daboll. And Daboll as an OC, his last year in Buffalo, number 1 offense. Yes, they could pass the ball. It was Josh at his peak powers. But Daboll as the head coach in New York, and mind you, they didn't have all the talent there, but there were things along the way, Armando, that you could think, okay, is he really a head coach, or is he really better, do you think, as a coordinator?
Well, the way I separate coordinators and head coaches is leadership. And there are just some offensive coordinators that are brilliant offensive minds, and they're just even defensive coordinators, and they can, present to their defense, but then they've got this blind spot. Like, for years, I've seen defensive coordinators treat quarterbacks the same as everyone else, and you cannot. They're different. You can't treat them like everybody else. You can't take them out of the lineup if they're a young guy, like you would take out a linebacker if he doesn't get the run fit correctly. You can't do that. And I've seen defensive coordinators do that with their quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks. Offensive coordinators, it's like they turn the entire defense sometimes to somebody new, different, foreign, and they coach half a team. And so a head coach is a CEO. He's a leader. He's got to be the guy that oversees the entire grand horizon of what the Buffalo Bills or any other team that he's overseeing are about. And he's got to set the standard and set the message. That's what most teams want in a head coach. That's not what a lot of teams, let's put it this way, get. They get a half a guy. And then they found out after the fact, we have half a guy. I will tell you this, Sean McDermott was not half a guy. He was the full picture.
So let's flip it then. Where does Sean McDermott coach if he coaches in 2026?
I don't know, because the timing for him is so bad. Teams are down the road. right?
Yeah.
They're down the road on their decision making and their process, and it's hard to go, Tom McDermott on the right, let's take the detour. That's not easy to do, and he's better than, I would say, 75% of the candidates that are out there, but I don't know if he's going to be able to not interfere, but intertwine himself into a process of a team. And if he does, I fear for him that it might be the wrong team.
Gino and I were speculating. Maybe it makes sense for him to sit it out a year, wait for some more openings
Absolutely.
next year. Because, well, look, I mean, you cover the Dolphins, you cover the NFL, you know the AFC East. The Jets could use somebody like Sean McDermott.
Absolutely. Although New York is not a fun place, I got to tell you. But it's not. It's just not. But I would say to you that would work. I would say to you that any number of places would be better. I don't know that he has the connections to the Las Vegas job, but that might be a place that would fit him because they are going to have the number 1 overall pick. Lamar Jackson just reposted somebody that was talking about him being in Las Vegas. So who knows if they trade that number 1 pick plus maybe Max Crosby and another first rounder for Lamar Jackson. That's out there in the netherworld. So that might make sense for him. And you could do worse than working for Tom Brady and Mark Davis after he's fired coaches after 1 year back to back. He's not going to do it again. That's for sure.
Armando, last one for me, and boy, normally we're way into the talk of championship weekend. This is the first time I think we're talking about it on our show, and realizing I have no idea what to expect from Denver with Jarrett Stidham at quarterback. So how do you view that game? How do you view the NFC Championship game?
So these games, typically, they are won and lost when they are close by the improbable off script, somebody doing something heroic. The Caleb Williams throwing that touchdown pass after he backpedaled 15 yards with 3 guys in his face and throws the 45-yard pass for a touchdown and sends a game that shouldn't have gone into overtime. And then Matthew Stafford coming back and doing his magic, or going to Carolina and telling, Devontae Adams, we're going to, snatch their hearts out right now, and does it. So I know that Sean Payton is a very good coach. He will have Jarrett Stidham ready to play. And regardless of the fact that the guy hasn't thrown a pass in anger in 2 years in the NFL, but I don't believe that Jarrett Stidham is capable of that moment, that heroic moment where, okay, I step up and I just dominate this field. I don't think that's who he is.
Armando, you're in Miami, and I want to make your head explode. It sounds as if Jeff Hafley won the press conference.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that makes my head explode because, a lot of guys, especially in Miami, win the press conference, and then they forget to do the other thing. You know what the other thing is?
Win
games.
Yeah.
Win games. Jimmy Johnson at his press conference in 1996, which I attended, he was wearing his Super Bowl rings, plural. And after the press conference, everybody's, oh, my gosh, we're going back to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Johnson. Whee! Except that the Jimmy Johnson that was all bravado and Super Bowl ring wearing, quit twice, got them beat 62-7 in his last game, feuded with Dan Marino, wanted to bench Dan Marino, and oh, by the way, took Dan Marino's ability to audible away from Dan Marino. It's like taking the piano away from Beethoven. I don't understand. And we've had a lot of guys there that have won the press conference and then just sucked afterwards. So the winning the press conference thing to me is just, I just want to, I want to just give me a wall so I could crack my head open on it.
Armando, so much happening in the NFL. Tell our audience what we can go check out at Outkick coming up this week.
Yeah, so I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I did write the day before that Sean got fired. This is a guy that's fighting for his job. I wrote that. You can check me on that if I didn't, but I absolutely did. And now the Lamar Jackson thing is up there, and that just is nutty. Either he's trolling or he wants out of Baltimore.
Interesting. Armando, always great hearing your voice. Thanks for making time for us here in the Sports Bar.
All right, gentlemen. You're the best.
Thank you,
Best. Armando Salguero, Outkick, one of our favorites. Mr. 305. Yeah, I knew the press conference, winning the press conference is so important. So important to win the press conference.
Oh, gosh. Greg Williams won the press conference.
Yeah.
They all do. I feel like, okay, what's he talking about, Lamar Jackson? What is this? Okay, so this is just some random person on X showing a picture of their son in a Lamar Jackson jersey. Okay? This is person writing, is this a good time to point out that my then 3-year-old may have predicted the potential move of, and tagging Lamar Jackson, to the Raiders? Okay, no big deal, right? Except Lamar Jackson retweeted it. Now, at minimum, you don't want your quarterback putting out crap like that.
Who's holding him accountable right now? Nobody.
Right.
You could argue nobody was holding him accountable even when he had somebody holding him accountable. If that happens, wow. How much fun would that be?
Oh, that's a thing you just kind of throw out there. But things like that never happen. Like, we're going to trade the number 1 overall pick for Lamar Jackson. I mean, if you're
Tom Brady's involved. I don't know if you knew or not. I mean, maybe it gets wacky and wild because Tom Brady's involved.
Well, just coincidentally, we're going to have our favorite Baltimorean. That would be PJ Glasser, because, my gosh, we haven't even discussed championship weekend, but I'm sure he's got some thoughts on that, because would that be a welcome thing in Baltimore? Like, you know what? Time for something new. We could sign on for, having Mendoza at quarterback and just starting anew here in Baltimore.
Interesting. We'll have PJ on with us next hour at around 4:25. We have time for your calls next as we continue at 866-4326. Although you're going to be hard-pressed to find a call better than Neil and Williamson's call yesterday into the Sports Bar. A template for all of our regulars to follow. Well thought out, passionate, and absolutely a Take of the Year finalist.
We've had great callers over the years. Adam from Aranda, Kuwait, who is now serving. There are great callers. I don't know if we've ever had a call quite like this, though.
I'd put Neil in Adam's upper echelon. And we hold Adam in high when Adam from Aranda, Kuwait calls into the show, the floor is his. We just let him roll. Neil is on that level. When you hear this call, you'll hear what we're talking about. Came in late last night while we were wrapping things up. If you missed it, we'll get to that next. PJ Glasser also joining us here in the Sports Bar.
You're listening. BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The latest on the Buffalo Bills coaching search. Brian Dable interviewing today. Coming up Sunday, getting his chance will be Jags OC Grant Udinski. How much change should there be? Steve Tasker offering his thoughts.
What is the extent of change you feel is necessary?
Yeah,
because you're talking about just get him over the hump. You know, that's all we need to do. Just get one guy to give us that last game to get us there. You know what I'm saying? There's some things about the culture here that made this place competitive each and every year. How much of an overhaul needs to be done? What would this next guy do?
Josh Allen, by the way, is a finalist for NFL MVP. Buffalo Sabres in action tonight as they're taking on Montreal. Our coverage on The Fan will begin at 7 o'clock. The Amherst begin a 6-game homestand coming up on Friday. They're also home on Saturday. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Brian Daboll interviewing with the Buffalo Bills today. Joe Brady getting his interview yesterday. The head coaching search is on at One Bills Drive as we welcome you back in to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. We appreciate you joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can find us in the iHeart, TuneIn, and also the Odyssey app, and on YouTube and Twitch. Our channel, The Fan Rochester.
Are you starting to look forward this Sunday? I'm not quite there yet.
Zero interest, man.
Well,
it's sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad state of affairs. I just don't have any skin in the game or rooting interest in any of these four teams. Now, that said, you could be somebody that maybe puts some skin in the game and makes it a little bit interesting, and that's why we welcome in PJ Glasser, sports bar betting expert. He's stopping by here in less than 20 minutes.
As much as I don't want to see a Super Bowl featuring Jarrett Stidham, I really don't want to see a Super Bowl featuring the New England Patriots. Is that fair?
It's going to hurt. Is this, what's the stat? Is this 15 straight seasons that either the Patriots or the Chiefs have been in the AFC Championship game?
Is that unbelievable?
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
What's the last one? Like Jets Steelers? Might be.
It's disgusting. I'm with you. I don't want to see either of those teams. The NFC, I mean, Seattle, I guess, would be fun.
Seattle, and okay, Sam Darnold after
Sam
seeing
Darnold
ghosts and getting to it.
Sam Darnold getting to a Super Bowl before Josh Allen. Oh, my God. It's just depressing. I don't like any of these outcomes, Gino. I don't know why I don't like any of these outcomes. So it hurts. I mean, think about that. He got drafted the same class as Josh Allen. He got drafted higher than Josh Allen. Couldn't have gone any worse for him in New York. Seeing ghosts, flamed out, gone. Meanwhile, Josh Allen ascends, league MVP, 2 AFC championship games. Yet it's Darnold who could be in the Super Bowl before Josh Allen.
Well, it hurts for a Jet fan because you spent that draft capital. You're Carolina. You spent nothing. And you didn't. You missed on that. You're Minnesota with your genius head coach.
Minnesota's stupid. I mean, Minnesota's just dumb. When they made that move, when they decided we're not going to sign him, I'm like, you mean to tell me you think J.J. McCarthy is going to get you 14 wins? I guess we're okay being mediocre. Is that where we're at? Okay.
Arrogance.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I wonder if the new stadium has something to do with it. Now, it's not a new stadium in Minnesota anymore. It's been there a while. But let's face it. I mean, like, they've got your money, and we're printing money.
Yeah. They'll say all the things about Super Bowl and putting out a competitive product, but at the end of the day, you know what? That champagne toast always kind of stuck with me. That
from Hard Knocks.
In the middle of August. Like, what are we toasting? Oh, that's right. We're celebrating our own wealth.
Celebration of wealth. The I don't want to put words in Neil from Williamson's mouth. What did he say? We're bowing at the altar of our own narcissism.
Before we get to Neil, because I don't know if Neil, it's tough to follow up Neil. Lou from East Rochester, you're welcome to join us at 866-4FAN. Hey, Lou.
Hey, guys. Great show so far.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say about this. I'm not a Bills fan. I'd like to preface this by saying I'm not a Bills fan, all right? But I do feel for the Bills with all this garbage, getting rid of the coach. And I've lost a lot of respect for Terry Pagula and Brandon Beane. They dumped everything on the coach. And the coach, as far as I know, didn't throw a pass, didn't turn the ball over, did nothing wrong. And it's time to mention the demigod, the quarterback, Josh Allen. He is not always at the top of his game in the biggest games of his career. That's one thing, okay? Got that so far?
Oh, we're with you.
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay. And next, as far as getting rid of Darnold, okay, I'm a Viking fan.
Oh.
And I don't know if you watched the last two games he played for the Vikings.
Yeah.
And against Detroit, he sucked big time.
Uh-huh.
And then against the Rams in the playoffs, he sucked big time, okay? One of the reasons he's doing so well with Seattle is because he's got a great defense. And, yes, he is playing pretty good. But he beat a San Francisco team in the playoffs that was injury-ridden and sucked. And right now he's going to lose to the Rams, okay? So he's not a future guy. He's a guy that can get you to the playoffs, and then we'll lose. Okay, that's it. That's all I got to say, buddy.
All right,
Lou,
thank you.
I take exception to that, Lou. I think Lou's wrong. I think you had the same defense in Minnesota. You had a good defense in Minnesota. You had a quarterback whisperer as your head coach. I mean, he famously made Josh Dobbs relevant in the NFL when Kirk Cousins was injured, right? What's different? Darnold has a good defense in Seattle. He has Clint Kubiak. He's doing well. Now, if you're telling me it's a matter of time and Darnold is going to turn into a pumpkin on Sunday, I need to see that. He's had some bad games. Yeah, he was bad for down the stretch for Minnesota last year.
Well,
he had a couple of bad games this year.
If anything, it gives you a different option than, JJ, and then McCarthy gets hurt, and then where are you going? It's a completely lost season in Minnesota.
You know, like, I'm not a scout. And granted, I don't watch every Viking game. I don't think McCarthy is it. I don't believe McCarthy is it. If it's about coaching, this is the coach that should be able to get him there. I mean, again, you want to talk about the arrogance. I can work with anybody. I can work with it. I can make anything. I don't know that he can make this work. He made it work with Darnold. Darnold's a professional. Well, I don't know if he's going to make it work with the kid.
Can we go back to his comment about Josh Allen?
Of course.
See, like, what has happened here between the call and the firing and everything else? Far and away, that was Josh Allen's worst performance when it mattered most. You do one less mistake and you win that game, right? We don't even talk about, like, hey, Ogunjobi, interception, and then you make this terrible read and you throw a pick right away. I mean, there are so many things he did poorly.
The Dawson Knox pass, the pass that he dirted to Shakir, he's just off.
Yeah.
That's before you talk about 4 turnovers. He was just off.
So what kind of headspace is he going to be in? Now, his offseason, he's heading to an offseason where not only he wasn't married this time last year, he's married. They're expecting their first child. A lot of things kind of happening in his life. I don't think we'll hear from him other than some sort of statement. We've heard maybe he will talk once the new head coach is hired.
I would expect that.
Well, that's going to be fascinating, right? Let me paint a picture. And, hey, I'm Brandon Beane, and we want to welcome Coach blah, blah, blah. Okay. How many players are there to welcome and coach blah, blah, blah? You would want your quarterback at this press conference, right? They don't have to come back into town. By the way, there's nothing in the CBA that says be here. They're all in their off-season homes. But I would guess nobody comes. You say Sean McDermott lost the locker room. If anything we've learned this week, I don't think he did at all. I think it's the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know that he lost the locker room. I just think the locker room vibes were weird.
The message got stale.
Yeah, I think that whenever I saw the post game, I said this earlier in the season, the post game footage that you see in winning locker rooms varies from team to team. And with the younger coaches or the first-year head coaches, and I'm not just going to say this because of Ben Johnson, but also like Liam Cohen was the same way, like a handful of these coaches, they get really fired up and everybody's jacked. And it was not that in Buffalo. It was very kind of businesslike. And I don't know if that's because the message is stale or it's just low energy and they just know, like, all right, we handled our business and we're on to the next one. That's fine.
Yeah, I think, though, the energy, like, I'd have to rewatch the video of, okay, how did that look in Jacksonville? Knowing, okay, you got 2 more of these, but that was a huge win. And 6 days later, everything changed. I think it's worth noting, too, that game on Saturday was the most watched, not NFL game, most watched sporting event since the 94 Winter Olympics.
In overtime, there was a peak in audience of 51 million watching that game. Yeah, most watched Saturday afternoon show since the 94 Winter Olympics.
That's Tanya and Nancy, everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's what that was.
Oh, my God, that's right.
Lillehammer.
Why? Wow.
Thank you very much for the call, Lou. You can call us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Let me preface this by saying you don't have to set the bar here what you're going to hear. But my gosh, we had a new standard in the show last night.
Neil in Williamson joined us in the sports bar yesterday, late in the show. In case you missed it, Neil had some thoughts on the Terry Pegula, Brandon Beane press conference. Sounded as such.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking my call. I greatly appreciate it. I am going to drop a rage bomb but not use the dirty 7, I promise you. First off, I have to say, it's nice. I was not even aware that you guys had a sports show, which is my fault, because unfortunately, we have been stuck with the bloviating idiots on WGR known as Shop at the Bulldog, who are the most talentless hacks in the industry. So it's nice that I get to talk to people in the Western New York area who actually know a thing about sports. So thank you very much. Now, on to this press conference. This was the perfect example of 2 people worshiping at the temple of their own narcissism. This was Trump level, MAGA level BS. Let's start with Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane literally was projecting everything that he was accusing on others. He's the one that went on WGR with Jeremy and Joe and talked out and bullied people, and yet when someone calls him out on it, he acts like he's the offended party. Brandon Beane has drafted over 50 players, and only 2 of them have ever made a Pro Bowl. Not an All-Pro, a Pro Bowl. And Terry Pegula, who quite frankly looks like an uncle who's about to go into dementia and doesn't actually know what's going on, has the nerve and audacity to bring 13 seconds up now, 5 years later, after it happened. And I want to be very clear here. I wanted Sean McDermott fired after 13 seconds. But you decide 5 years later to mention 13 seconds and a referee call as your criteria for getting rid of McDermott? You have done the one thing that I didn't think was possible with Buffalo Bills fans, and that is turn Sean McDermott from the victim to the martyr. Because all you could have done is simply said, we're going in a different direction, and leave it at that. And, maybe 80% of the Bills fans would have been happy. But Brandon Beane, who is the most – and you clearly heard Pegula act like – this guy, Brandon Beane, has a get-out-of-jail-free card because he drafted Josh Allen. And he can whiff on 53 other picks except for James Cook. And this guy has got more freaking job security than the Catholic Pope. And it's a disgrace and an embarrassment that these 2 clowns are running this clown show. They worship at the temple of their own narcissism. And anybody that heard this today clearly understands that Brandon Beane is a petulant, narcissistic prick who is an insecure, petty little tyrant. And for Pegula to stand there, interrupt him twice, and by the way, he's wrong about Keon Coleman. He was bragging. There's already footage out on Twitter that he took credit for this. And in closing, let me say this. I have long believed Sean McDermott needed to go and Brandon Beane needed to go. But in life, you can't get a woman half pregnant. You either do it all the way or none of the way. And this is just another example of Terry Pegula putting a Band-Aid on a gushing geyser. This was the year to get rid of both of them and start over. Sean McDermott should have been fired last year, and we could have either got Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, or Mike Vrabel. So we now are realizing very clearly, ladies and gentlemen, that we are stuck with a bunch of clowns running a circus. And it's a circus led by fools that's going to lead to a comedy of errors. And we are going to be nothing more than what we have been since the 4 Super Bowls. A laughing stock of a franchise that can never get it right. And it seems only thing Pagula cares about is how that stadium looks as opposed to the product that's put on it. And apparently Brandon Beane thinks that being a narcissistic jerk, taking credit for everything he does and deflecting all the blame is leadership. That's not leadership. It's cowardice. It's a disgrace. Gentlemen, this will not be the first time I call you. This will be one of many. But I figure if I'm going to make a first impression, I'm going to come out swinging. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow.
Rackham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The take of the year 2026 is in the bag. My God, Neil. Wow. You just came into the sports bar with a howitzer. I feel bad for whoever's on hold.
This is next up, Justin and Ron the.
Hey, Justin, I'm sorry. That's a high bar to set for you.
How do I follow that one?
I feel really, really bad, Justin. Do your best.
Well, the only thing is, for me, I agree with pretty much what everybody's saying about McDermott had to go, but the timing and how they did it was wrong. I mean, if you're going to do it, you got to do it, last year when you got, the coordinators, the coaches that are available, or you got to do it after 13 seconds. You can't just drag it out for 5 years and then all of a sudden pull the trigger in a moment of emotion after a ridiculous loss. But for me, McDermott had to go one way or the other. Bean probably should have been gone too. But the only thing I can say in his defense is maybe McDermott had a lot more say in the roster than we all knew. I mean, I don't know if I buy that Bean wanted Boogie Basham over, say, like a Creed Humphrey. I think that was more of Bean kind of being, I don't want to say forced, but maybe, just because of McDermott's, process first type guys, character first type guys, get guys for the defense, let Josh handle the offense. But even so, we'd be letting up 30-plus points in almost every single playoff game that we've played in, and Josh has to do miracles to get us over the top. The other thing about McDermott's philosophy is, keep everything in front of you, smaller, faster guys to play pass defense, forget about the run. And in my opinion, that's what contributes greatly to our injuries year over year. We have smaller linebackers, smaller nickel backs, smaller corners, smaller safeties, and they get run over, and by the end of the year, they're all injured. And it's happened every year, and I don't think it's a pattern by coincidence or, happenstance. I think it's because of the players that we get and his philosophy defensively. I don't know. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. But I think it all contributes. Everything matters. And like Levy used to say, the difference between the last place and the Super Bowl champion is only about 2%. But in that 2% is, everything of what the Bills are missing right now. Thanks for taking my call, guys. I'll hang up and listen.
What? You know what, Justin?
Great call.
You did it, buddy.
Great call.
Yeah, that's the way to follow that up.
Great call, Justin.
He's right about we have to draft to fit the system. Okay. So that's going to be fascinating. Now, if Babbage stays, so I don't think he's going to stay.
No, I don't think
I think he's going to stay. But he hit on something interesting. Brandon Beane doesn't worry about character anymore. Like, you do, to a certain extent, but don't you get the feeling that certain guys
we're pinning the character thing on McDermott and Beane because we think that they want a certain type of guy, or McDermott wanted a certain type of guy? What if it is Terry? What if it is the owner saying, I don't want that guy because he did that in college, or he said that, or he did this, or whatever his hangups might be? What if it's Pagula? It could be Pagula. He's the owner of the team. He's in the room. He's there when they're making the selections. He's meddling. And I guarantee you there are a handful of players that have been available to the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure of it. that they probably said, nah, talented, nah, but this issue or that issue or that.
Well,
we didn't like how he presented when we interviewed him or whatever it might be. I get all of that. But sometimes you got to look at the talent and say, yeah, this is a really good football player that can help us win games.
Diggs.
Number one example.
Diggs is not, by the way, I should just kind of say this. He's got this court issue coming up, so we're just kind of reserve judgment on that. Brandon Beane 1 year gives him the money. And then 12 months later, he's got to figure out how to eat dead cap money because, well, it went south with whatever. The coach, the quarterback, we'll never know the bottom of that story. But I'm sure Brandon Beane wasn't happy that he's being told to do this. That's not his decision to let go Stephon Diggs.
Right. Yeah. That will be fascinating, to Justin's point. I think that there is something to that there's a type. And as far as the size concern, the NFL comes and goes. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes you want size to be able to stop the run. Sometimes you'd rather be more athletic to be able to stop the pass. I don't know. I like what we saw out of Cole Bishop this year. And we saw it right away when we saw him at camp. We're like, ooh, he got bigger. He's bigger. He's filled out. He's bulkier. He's been in the weight room. He's been working out. That's good. And more of those kind of guys on the back end. Get a little bit bigger at linebacker. And I'm sorry, man. I don't know. Maybe we're just not we're poverty defensive line. But when I see Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, I just think I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous of the edge rushers that Houston has. And they look different. They don't look like our guys look. They just look. They're built differently. Those are the guys I want to see. Those are the type of players you want to bring in.
By the way, it's right, Danger. The last time we had an AFC championship game that did not involve the Patriots or the Chiefs.
Steelers-Colts.
It was Steelers-Jets.
Oh, Steelers-Jets. That's right. The Jets surprised.
Yep. So it was the second straight AFC championship game, and that would have been the last playoff game the Jets were in.
Oh.
Steelers would go on to lose to Green Bay in that Super Bowl.
That's right. Crazy. All right, we're late for PJ. PJ Glasser, sports bar betting expert, stopping by next. We'll get some Championship Sunday picks from PJ on the way here in the Sports Bar. Thanks for listening.
The Fan Rochester.
Tonight, expect snow showers with mostly cloudy conditions and a low of 12.
Weather brought to you by Duke's Mayo. Welcome to Duke's Mayo Country, where the mayo is so smooth and creamy, it makes every bite better. Duke's Mayo. Look for the yellow lid.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The latest on the Bills coaching search. Completing his interview today, former Giants head coach, former Bills OC, Brian Daboll. Jags offensive coordinator Grant Udinski will interview coming up Sunday. GM and president Brandon Beane on what he's looking for.
This is a bigger job than just a play caller and a schemer. I think we've seen where guys have been excellent play callers, but they got to the head coach seat and they couldn't handle the adversity, the conflict management, all the things. It's a CEO job, so we got to make sure we get the leadership, the CEO part.
Josh Allen is a finalist for NFL MVP. We'll talk to our betting expert, PJ Glasser. PJ joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Sabres hockey tonight. The team in Montreal. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. The Amherst are back home Friday and Saturday. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
He is our Sports Bar betting expert, our buddy PJ Glasser, joining us from Baltimore. PJ, it's great having you on as always. We had Armando Salguero from Outkick on with us last hour, and he kind of explained something he's been digging into. This Lamar tweet, this Lamar retweet with the kid wearing the jersey and talking about Lamar potentially going to Vegas. I mean, what have you seen about this? What are people in Baltimore saying about this? What the hell's going on there with the Ravens?
So yeah, there was a kid who was wearing a Ravens jersey, and his dad or maybe somebody, I guess, tweeted out that Lamar would look great like in a Raiders jersey or something like that. Lamar retweeted the photo, and everybody started freaking out because then people think that like he wants to get traded to the Raiders or something's happening. He actually took down the retweet and then commented that he didn't even read the caption. So Lamar does this, like, he loves being a troll on Twitter and social media. That's initially what we all thought it was, but he just came out and said that he didn't even read the caption. So, fellas, to be honest, as a Ravens fan, I just want one quiet offseason. I feel like we've done this the last 3 years or so where it's like, the Ravens are going to trade Lamar. The contracts aren't going well. We know he doesn't have an agent. He does everything himself. That was an interesting hour and a half or so. But according to Lamar, and I guess you got to take his word for it, that's what I assumed. I thought he was trolling at first, but I guess he just didn't even read the caption and was just retweeting it because the kid was wearing a Ravens jersey.
Oh, yeah. Likely story here. Ravens, I thought maybe McDermott might land in Baltimore, but that's a long shot. Are you buying into the speculation that Jesse Minter might be the Ravens head coach? And if so, what would you think of that, PJ?
That's the guy I've wanted all along. I think it is going to end up being him. Obviously, Ravens fans, if they could go back in their time machine, they would have hired Mike McDonald after the AFC title game to the Chiefs, looking at all his success. And I think a bunch of Ravens would have told you that he was kind of the next big thing. I view him, guys, as kind of defensive Sean McVay, which is going to make this matchup that we have on Sunday really, really good. And I kind of look at Jesse Minter as defensive Kevin O'Connell, if you want to kind of compare the two. So I don't think you're going to do as good as Mike McDonald on this coaching cycle, but I think Minter is the second best thing. And when you consider the fact that, he was at Michigan as the defensive coordinator under Jim Harbaugh, just like McDonald was. He's been in the Ravens organization. I think it makes a bunch of sense if he ends up being the hire. So I love it. If it ends up not being him, I know they're bringing in Joe Brady today in person to have him interview for the head coaching job. So maybe it ends up being him. The Ravens initially had like 15 guys that they interviewed in the first round, and then they said that they were going to bring in about 5 guys for the second round of interviews, and that's when the owner, Steve Bisciotti, that's when Lamar would start to give their input and kind of be in the Zoom meetings and talk to these guys. So now we're down to like the more serious candidates that we're going to have. So they're clearly taking Brady as a serious candidate, but I'm thinking it's Minter, and as I'm sure you guys saw, he was supposed to have an interview today with the Browns that he ended up declining.
Yeah. All right, PJ. So I want to get your take on what happened with Buffalo last weekend and the results of that game and all of the aftermath. But I want to work it in reverse. Sean McDermott let go. Does Sean McDermott coach in 2026, and if so, where?
I don't think he does. The only place I think is interesting is Pittsburgh to me. I think that's an interesting, him and Mike Tomlin with the William and Mary ties. They're really good friends. And it's the same success that Buffalo had in the regular season. I mean, the Rooney family, they've only hired 3 head coaches in the last 40, 50 years. So they like stability. They like coaches that are great leaders in the locker room and those kinds of things. So once I saw the news that McDermott was being fired, I thought Pittsburgh made a lot of sense. Outside of that, I don't see him going to Baltimore. I don't see him going to any of these other teams that are looking for, an upstart head coach or trying to shake things up. If you had to make me bet it, Danger, I would say he doesn't coach in 2026. But if he does, my best bet would probably be Pittsburgh.
PJ Glass, our betting expert, joining us here in the Sports Bar. So if we jump back to Saturday, PJ, and you were saying Broncos, but the way that happened, I don't think how surprised were you that Josh Allen melted down the way he did? And your thoughts on the controversial play there at the end, the interception where Cooks couldn't bring that in?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm shocked that the Bills let go of McDermott. I was doing a couple hits, and I remember the conversation I was having with you guys at the beginning of the year, right? Because obviously as Ravens and Bills fans, I mean, we've been in such similar seasons. Lamar and Josh were the same draft class. Harbaugh and McDermott have been their only coaches that they've ever had. They've never been to a Super Bowl. They keep coming up empty. And I told you guys that, a lot of people in Baltimore felt like it was a change, and they ended up getting rid of Harbaugh and talking to you guys. You thought the front office and ownership very pleased with McDermott. So I was surprised. But like you said, Gene, I think the way that the game unfolded and just the way that the season unfolded. I'm sure, when we were talking at the beginning of the year and you guys get the vibe from the ownership in Buffalo and the front office, nobody probably expected that by the time the AFC playoffs rolled around, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Baltimore would all be out. That obviously played a factor. And then I just think, like you said, the game itself and the way that it played in Buffalo and being so uncharacteristic for them to turn the ball over that many times, and some of the turnovers that we saw, certainly the one before halftime with Josh. As for the controversial call, my take has been that should be a catch, but I think under the rules, they made the right call. What makes no sense to me about what is a catch and what isn't a catch is that it's the area of the field, right? If it's an end zone, it's different. If it's on the sideline, it's different. If it's in the middle of the field, it's different. But you have to complete the catch. And even though Cooks had it and his knee was down, he was being touched, I didn't think he completed it all the way through. So it's unfortunate because that should be a catch, but by the letter of the law and the way that they rule those kinds of things, I did think it was a interception.
So, PJ, Joe Brady interviewed yesterday after that disastrous press conference of the Buffalo Bills. Brian Daboll in today. Grant Udzinski is coming in on Sunday. There's probably some more people that they want to add to their list once they get eliminated from the postseason here. Which direction do you think Buffalo goes in replacing Sean McDermott?
I think it ends up being Dable or Brady, you would think, right? I mean, their familiarity with Josh Allen would make a lot of sense. But I'll tell you, whoever it ends up being, guys, the defensive coordinator hire is going to be so important. That's a lot of the talk here in Baltimore is, do you go with a defensive head coach to shore up that side of the ball, but then you're obviously, if you go with the defensive guy, then you got to make sure he gets the offensive coordinator hire, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that way in Buffalo. So all signs are pointing that they're going to go with an offensive head coach, which is great. But, and you guys would know this a lot better than me, but I'm sure a lot of the issue that people have had with McDermott and the Bills in the postseason is that he's a defensive coach, and these defenses more often than not in a lot of these elimination games are being shredded, right? So I think it ends up being Dable, to be honest with you guys, would be my guess. I think him or Brady, but I would think it's going to be Dable. And if it ends up being Dable, I mean, whoever he ends up hiring as a defensive coordinator, I think is going to be really, really important for the Bills moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Bills do go defensive because they're bringing in a defensive coordinator. I was with the Colts, the Bengals, and
oh yeah,
I hate when
what's
that
his
happens.
name?
Yeah, what's his name? PJ?
Blanking on that one.
Lou Anarumo! That would be awesome. Guys, I got to say, I'm so bummed that the Bills lost this weekend and Chicago lost this weekend, because could you imagine if we had Buffalo and Chicago right by San Francisco? It would have been unbelievable. I wanted it to happen, but that was unfortunate.
And we'll keep the dream alive. Instead, PJ, we get Jared Stidham in the AFC Championship game. How do you handicap this? I have no idea. Patriots on the road giving 4.5, PJ. So is there a play?
This is also, if I'm not mistaken, isn't this the biggest? The Broncos are the biggest home underdog ever in a conference championship game.
I believe they are. Danger. And I mean, guys, this is like from a betting standpoint, that's the $1 million question, right? Like how much do you adjust the line? And nobody knows. So Vegas, obviously, they open up all the sports books. They put out a number and they kind of just let the money dictate which way it goes. And they opened it at 4.5. It's still at 5.5 at some shops. At others, it's 4.5. So that's kind of where we've settled, is that 4.5, 5.5 range. Either one, I think it's too many points. And to be honest with you guys, I think the Broncos are going to pull to the upset. I think they're going to win this game outright. Even when Brady and Belichick were in their years during that New England dynasty, the place that would always give them problems was Denver. They could never win there. The Patriots have never won a playoff game in Mile High. It's a really tough place to win on the road. And this is just one of those spots where I really trust Sean Payton. I thought in that Bills game he was terrific. I thought he had a really good game plan. And I would expect him to have a really good game plan against New England also. Stidham, I think he's pretty good as a backup. And I just think Peyton's going to put him in really good situations. I think the Denver defense is going to step up, and they're going to play really well in this game also. So, yeah, fellas. I mean, look, New England's obviously got to be the favorite in this game, but I just think it's too many points. Anything over a field goal, to be honest with you, I think is a bet on the Broncos, and I think they're going to win the game outright.
I like hearing that. Nobody wants to see New England back in the Super Bowl.
No, please. I mean, how good do they have it, right? Like, you get all those years, and now it's like you're only bad for a couple, and you're one game away from going back to the Super Bowl. We all need the Broncos to win that one.
The AFC is gross, by the way. 15 straight seasons where it's either New England or Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Come on.
Yeah, that is crazy. I know, especially with all the parity. We thought maybe we'd be getting this playoff season. It ends up being the Patriots one game away.
Yeah. Rams and Seahawks, looking at Rams getting 2.5, LA winning in Carolina. They have the overtime win in Chicago. Do they have enough gas in the tank to go up and win in Seattle, where they played some entertaining games so far? We have high expectations for this one, PJ. What is the play?
Yeah, this game is going to be awesome. I think a lot of people are kind of calling this game the de facto Super Bowl, and I would agree. And what I would recommend to people is, if you are in the same belief as me that you think Denver is going to pull off the upset against the Patriots, I would think the look-ahead line probably, whether it's the Rams or whether it's the Seahawks on a neutral against Stidham and the Broncos, probably going to be about 7.5. I would think that Seattle, LA winner is going to be favored by north of a touchdown over Denver. So maybe look at betting some exactas, right? Rams to beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl, Seahawks to beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl. I mean, you can get like plus 600, plus 750 on some of those bets. So I think that's definitely worth it. This game's a toss-up, right? Seattle's favored by 2.5, which is telling you that on a neutral, this game is about a pick 'em. What I think is interesting, you guys, when these teams played on that Thursday night late in the regular season in Week 16, the Rams were actually a short favorite in that game. And now here we are. and they're a 2.5-point dog. You have to downgrade the Rams because they very easily could have lost to Carolina, and they very easily could have lost to Chicago, while all we've seen recently out of Seattle is 2 dominating performances against the Niners, right? But I mean, the Rams, you guys, were up 16 in Seattle in the fourth quarter in that game. And I don't know, this kind of game, right, as an underdog, I feel like I'm getting the better coach and I'm getting the better quarterback. I understand they're on the road. It's the third time these teams are facing each other. The first one was decided by 2 points. The second meeting was decided by 1 point. We're getting 2.5. So, I mean, these games are always close. The two this year have been as close as can be. I think taking the underdog is the right move. So that Seattle defense is awesome, but I'm trusting the Rams, Stafford, and McVay to find a way. I think they win the game. I think we get Rams-Broncos in the Super Bowl.
Wow. All right, PJ. I'm going to plug my nose and take your advice and try my best to enjoy what's left of this NFL season. And we've got plenty to talk about when we join up with you again next week around the same time. We'll begin to talk about that Super Bowl matchup. And you know, I know we're getting into your wheelhouse too. College basketball season is going to start heating up here, and I know you're paying attention.
Absolutely. I know, guys. Only three NFL games left. Feels like I was just on with you talking week 1, Ravens and Bills, and now here we are with a championship week in the NFL. Crazy always flies by, but like you said, we got college basketball starting to heat up, so still plenty of talk to talk about.
Give PJ Glasser a follow on social. PJ, appreciate the time, bud, as always.
Thanks, fellas. Good talking to you.
There's PJ Glasser, sports bar betting expert, joining us with his picks for Championship Sunday. We have to root for the Broncos. I don't want to root for either of those teams. I don't want New England back in the Super Bowl. Get out of here.
So we had an author on that it was really interesting talking about NFL ownership. There was one nugget about Kraft that kind of came out. And this is Robert Kraft early on, where the Patriots are just starting to get good. And he goes to his team's PR, and he goes to NBC after the game. How come I wasn't shown on TV?
Right.
And they said, well, it was a rainy night. And, honestly, with the camera through the glass, it wouldn't. Well, then you know what? We're going to take down the glass. So Robert Kraft, every game, that's not by accident.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the deal, that they have the cutaways of Robert Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that drives me nuts when I see that guy on the sideline or up with whoever in the box, that he's actually requiring the network to cut away to him.
I don't like the campaigning for the Hall of Fame.
I don't like that either.
So, I am campaigning for myself to get into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, okay. It's gross. It's just gross. And I don't like Sean Payton. But damn, he called a good game against the Bills. Man, he dialed up exactly the right play and the exact right matchup when Dane Jackson was out there, when Darnell Savage was out there. We didn't talk about the game enough because everything was overshadowed by the coach losing his job. But Sean Payton that was Hall of Fame level stuff.
That was danger. It was a wild game. 30-30 overtime?
Yeah.
And would it surprise me if the Patriots actually rolled Denver? Armando Salguero had an interesting quote. It's like, hey, in these games, you got to have somebody that, makes the play in the moment. Okay, that would be the quarterback. Like if Stidham has to lead his team if Bo Nix did, granted, PI, Joey Bosa late hit, doesn't matter, but he did it.
I think about how Drake May looked fallible against a really good defense. And I know conditions were a factor, but I think Denver's defense can rattle Drake May. I do believe that.
Well, New England undefeated on the road this season, but have they played anybody on the road other than Buffalo, which you give them credit like this? Yeah.
And I do think there is something to that place in the postseason. It's a hard place to go in and win in the postseason. New England hasn't been able to do it. A lot of teams haven't been able to do it. All right, let's see if PJ's right. All right, I'm starting to get a little bit interested. Championship Sunday. We got a round of shots coming up during happy hour next. We have time for your calls at 866-4326. How you feeling? Brian Daboll in Buffalo interviewing for the Buffalo Bills head coaching vacancy. We'll discuss that and more of the fallout. Armando was great in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll unpack some of what he had to say as well. And again, your calls at 866-4FAN.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Here's the latest on the Bills coaching search. Completing his interview this morning, former Bills offensive coordinator and Jets head coach Brian Daboll. Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Udinski will interview coming up on Sunday. How much change should there be? Steve Tasker offering his thoughts.
What is the extent of change you feel is necessary? Because you're talking about just get him over the hump. You know, that's all we need to do. Just get one guy to give us that last game to get us there. You know what I'm saying? There's some things about the culture here that made this place competitive each and every year. How much of an overhaul needs to be done? What would this next guy do?
Josh Allen, a finalist for NFL MVP. Buffalo Sabres tonight in Montreal. Our coverage on the Fan here will begin at 7 o'clock. The Mavericks begin a 6-game homestand tomorrow night. Utica is the opponent. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Gino, you are completely unflappable. Just a steel trap. So professional. I'm trying to distract you the entire time. Can't be distracted. Can't be bothered.
You're the manager here. Like, what are you trying to do?
I'm also a child. I like to have fun, play pranks. Can't do it to Gino.
Not at all.
Happy hour in the sports bar. We welcome you back in. Thanks for joining us and listening around Rochester 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can get us in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can find our podcast wherever you get your shows. Just search the sports bar. That includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
What did you say? We set a podcasting record yesterday. Like, wow, who knew?
Yeah. Well, when things are happening at One Bills Drive, typically we see audience spikes, and we cherish that. We love that. We're humbled by the fact that you come to us for your Bills news or information or entertainment. I mean, we might not be your typical sports talk show. If you're new to the sports bar, we welcome you with open arms and say, you know what, give us a few days. If you find that we're not your brand of vodka, no hard feelings. We know how many choices you have.
No, I like what Rome used to say. If you're not, then you give it a few more days after that. And then a few more days after that.
But it is truly a privilege to give you fantastic sports talk in the Flower City. We don't take it for granted.
I think a lot of people would be excited about Brian Daboll because he reminds you of the good old days, right? And that's an offense that ranked first in points, first in yards. That's with Devin Singletary as your running back. Now, it was a different wide receiving core, but that was Josh Allen, right? And when was Brian Daboll's last game with Buffalo? 13 seconds. Not his fault. Now, I'm going to say this, Danger. There's one thing we know about Brian Daboll. Fair to say type A personality?
He's a hothead. And, at least gives off the impression of being an alpha. Now, the reports out of his time in New York are not great. Dysfunction in the locker room or friction in the locker room, not a great chemistry, not a lot of accountability.
The whole handling of the quarterbacks this year, weird. Going off on Tyrod in Buffalo, not presidential whatsoever.
We remember seeing that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know that he's the guy you want. And Brandon Beane mentioned, this is a CEO job, and you have to be able to handle conflict, personnel conflict.
And he loves himself some conflict. That's Brian Daboll. But my impression with this new structure, Danger, clearly the head coach is not going to have as much power as the guy who just got a promotion. So to me, will Brandon Beane want somebody like Brian Daboll every so often chesting him up or challenging him? I know Brandon Beane would dispute what I'm saying here, but that's why I'm kind of crossing off Brian Daboll off the list. If he's Josh Allen's friend and connection, of course you're giving him an interview. But ultimately, I think you would want to have somebody you have a little bit more control over, where this wasn't a power play.
It's absolutely a power play.
It's absolutely a power play. Who are we kidding? Who are you kidding? You really believe what Terry Pagula said? We put the lie detector test to him yesterday. I based it off the emotion in the locker room. Okay. Yeah. If you did, then you based a decision off of emotion, then you are a bad owner.
I think he's a bad owner.
Regardless.
I think he's a meddlesome, bad owner. Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is, Danger, like, this was exposed to the country. We knew this from the Sabres. We've known this prior to McDermott and Bean.
Any fan that wants Terry to speak more, I always caution them. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't want that guy to speak more because you're not going to like what he has to say.
So you got messages. I got messages. You listening right now. Probably you have a friend outside of the air that's not a Bills fan, but certainly they're in tune with sports. Like, what the hell is wrong with your team? What was that yesterday? Danger, this is the stuff if it happens to another franchise, we are laughing hysterically because we love other NFL franchises that are dysfunctional. Except our family is dysfunctional.
It really is.
This happened over 24 hours ago, and I'm still not past a lot of it.
No, I get it, and I'm with you. And it's going to be a hard thing to remember Terry Pegula throwing Sean McDermott and Keon Coleman under the bus. While Keon Coleman is still very much a player on your roster, that's going to be a hard thing for me to forget. I think that's the point. That's the point of the press conference that I think everybody nationally latched onto because that makes no sense. If you're Terry Pegula and you have an axe to grind with Keon Coleman and you chose that setting, yeah, you're a jerk.
Or is this revisionist history? And when talking about Keon Coleman, there's some bits and pieces where maybe Brandon Beane was the other side, but when the GM is in the box with the owner and you see plays like, hey, there's a drop pass and it ends up being a fumble or whatever it is. Keon had bad plays on the field. You will be the time just to plant seeds. Plant seeds. You're not going in to close the sale right there. But if you know if it's him or me, yeah, you know what? That was one, Terry, that we traded down and the coaching staff got so mad that we didn't take Xavier Worthy that you remember, like they wanted the receiver right out there.
McConkey was on the board too at the same time, right?
You're not going to acknowledge my Brandon Beane impression?
Listen. Here's my Brandon Beane impersonation. Listen. That's what I got for you.
Yes, McConkey was there.
Yeah.
Yes, Cooper DeJean was there. Yeah.
Gross. No, I see what you're saying. I see you working, Gino, and I think you're absolutely right. I think if you're somebody like the only thing really that I think would get Bills fans, well, I'm not going to speak for all of Bills Mafia, but I would say there's a fraction of the audience that would be excited because he's familiar. He's one of us. He's from here. I mean, I keep going back to, God, the guy was at U of R, and he's about to be the head coach of the team that was close to some parts of the team he grew up around. That's crazy. That's wild. And I think if you're the Bills, and it is Brian Daboll, that's your selling point, right? Like, that's the biggest selling point you have. You could talk about his familiarity. That's great, and that makes sense. You could talk about his relationship with Josh. That's great. But if you really want to, get everybody to buy in emotionally, this guy is one of us. He's from here, and he knows the area, and this is where he wanted to be all along, and blah, blah, blah. Is he the right guy for the job? I don't know. Too soon to say, and they haven't even talked to everybody that they're going to talk to. There are guys on this list that they're going to talk to, and I'm like, probably not getting the job, but maybe you'll learn a nugget or two that you can pass on or that you can somehow use in the future against them if they're not your head coach.
Brian Daboll, class of 1997. Like, can you imagine, like, somebody locally here right now just graduating? Like, how do you work your way up? And it's a credit to him and anybody else that climbs the ladder like that. And ultimately, if it ends up being Daboll, he might be the guy that would know how to talk to the fan base. He would know how to handle Josh in certain situations. Armando Salguero brought up a good point, too. And it's about Josh and the next head coach. This is not the time to come in and just bring this whole new offense, new everything, new. If it is, and Armando didn't say this is what I'm saying, get ready for a season like you haven't seen in quite some time. I'm not saying not playoffs. I'm saying losing.
Well, yeah, because there's growing pains, and it'll be an adjustment. It'll take time. And anytime you see a first-year head coach, look at a team in the AFC and the NFC that both made the playoffs, both with rookie head coaches, offensive-minded, Jacksonville, Chicago.
Fun.
But the trajectory of these teams, beginning of the season, rough. Wasn't good. There was missed throws, miscommunications, just an overall lack of understanding of what was being asked. Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams got better as the season went on. Got really good for Jacksonville and a big winning streak to end the season before they get to the postseason. And for Chicago, listen, a lot of luck, a lot of unbelievable plays and finishes, but enough there where you're like, okay, the future could be bright, and maybe next year, they don't have that, they don't stumble out of the blocks. But I think it's safe to say that if it is somebody from the outside that doesn't have that previous relationship, or Josh doesn't have familiarity with, say, Clint Kubiak, yeah, I would say within the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season, you're going to see some mistakes. You're going to see some stumbling blocks, some miscommunications, and some losses. Could happen. Absolutely.
But I think ultimately I could see one of these 30-year-olds, whether that's Udinski or Davis Webb, like that's the guy that I can kind of work with and
to your original point.
And it buys me more security. If you sell this through to the owner, I get more security because you know what? That's a first-time head coach.
He's growing. He's growing. Yeah, he's developing. He's getting better. We're going to work with him. We're going to get better.
Matt in the city joining us. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Hey, Matt.
Hey, guys. Just jumping in the car, so catching up on sort of where you guys are at. But I was thinking yesterday for sure, and I wanted to call in and get you guys' thoughts on, considering all of the factors and variables and things that have gone on, especially from like a PR standpoint, right? Yesterday felt like, and let me know how you feel about this. It might be pessimistic. It might be, super dramatic. Was yesterday a top 2 lowest moment in franchise history? Top 3 lowest moment? Like singular day that you can think of?
Well, I don't know how you would. Well, to me, like there's different categories. Like I would go to January 3rd, 2023, the day after DeMar Hamlin. When we got up in the morning, like, oh my gosh, that for a different reason in recent memory. But as far as losing or just acting terrible, like Whaley in front of the podium,
Whaley was terrible.
Yeah,
Whaley was terrible. That was a bad press conference, and that once again, the Bills. What we have to remember is Terry Pegula as the owner of this team. It's a dysfunctional organization that has a really good quarterback, and for the last 9 seasons had a really good head coach that could mask those dysfunctions by being that unifying voice. When you have multiple voices, then it muddies the water, and that's what you had yesterday. It was sloppy. It was uncomfortable.
I think that's the piece for me.
Yeah.
I don't mean to cut you guys off, but I think that's the piece for me is right. Like such a dysfunctional franchise and organization for so long that you had great stability for 9 years, and I'm sitting there thinking about like, a lot of this conversation revolves around Josh, right? Like how does he react to the fact that so much of the conversation is based on him and we got to do this now, or is it the case that these guys really in the offseason go home and can completely tune out and compartmentalize and they'll come back, for OTAs and it'll be like, we're back to work, business as usual.
Well, they somehow rebounded after 13 seconds. Like, to me, 13 seconds in the day after, horrible. I mean, you blew that game. That loss is worse than what you saw in Denver. I'm sorry. You can explain away some turnovers.
I agree.
You can. There are things you can say that happens. That was malpractice.
I agree. That was that one in recent memory, and I'm not going to go back as far as the 4 falls, but in recent memory, yeah, that was probably the darkest. I think that loss felt the worst. Felt bad yesterday. No doubt, Matt. Felt bad yesterday. Is it top 3? Yeah, I'd say it is top 3. Yesterday was gross.
It was, well, certainly maybe top in this era, Pagula. Matt, thanks for the call. Anybody that wants to jump in at 866-4FAN.
Can I take a second?
Yeah.
Matt, Justin, Neil, we're on a streak right now.
We are.
Our callers have been elite, next level, smart, intelligent questions and takes. Really appreciate that at 866-4326. When you guys are on, we are better. So keep them coming. We love interacting with you at 866-4FAN.
And if you don't want to call, you can also tweet us, as Greg just did. I just wanted to let you know, Danger, you're definitely my type of vodka. He's watching the show. Looks like a shot. Greg, honestly, it's happy hour. Have at it, man. Especially if you're a Bills fan. Wow.
Oh, I just saw that. Okay,
Yeah,
very good,
yeah.
Greg. Thank you. Just shot of vodka, and he's streaming the show on our YouTube channel on his phone. Appreciate that.
Boy, was that's a great point, though. Like, how would you rank yesterday? Yesterday, the purpose of yesterday, Danger, from a PR standpoint, was acknowledge that people are upset and look forward and discuss the
They
plan.
got defensive.
They got way defensive.
They shouldn't have gotten defensive. I mean, they went in, and ego gets the best of a lot of guys. And it really felt like it got the best of Terry, and it got the best of Brandon, that their intentions with their opening statements were pure. And they said the right things in their opening statements. But as soon as they went off script, then the bravado kicks in. And then it's, you can't challenge me. You can't challenge him. This is who we are. We feel good about what we're doing. And how dare you even question these draft picks? How dare you even question this roster? It was gross. Stick to the script. If it's something scripted, I'll listen to Terry Pagula talk all day.
Yeah.
But if it's off script, nope, you don't want that guy talking.
No, it wasn't the best performance for Bean either. Like, for Bean to say, how dare you question mine?
Well, I think Bean has been through this so much through the last 9 seasons. He's good. He's fine. Terry is the wild card. You can't have him up there. Bean could have handled that press conference. Would you have felt good about it? Maybe not, but you'd feel a hell of a lot better than you feel today if it was just Bean.
Or Terry reads the statement
and hand it over to
Bean.
I'm not
By the way,
taking-
the statement that who wrote, some intern, I'm not over that either. Like that had
No, that came straight from Terry's typewriter.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
That's
the admiral job that Sean McDermott did.
Bob, who currently is in Henrietta.
Hey,
Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well.
When I listen to that whole thing, the person I feel the worst for right now is Josh, because they came out and said, "Well, I went in the locker room and I saw him crying and everything else, and I figured, well, since Josh is crying and feeling really bad, we must have hit the wall." So it felt right then and there like he made the decision based on Josh's reaction. So that poor guy's got to feel like, whatever. Oh, geez, if I wasn't crying, maybe it would have been different. If I wasn't upset, maybe it would have been different.
Maybe if I didn't
so
turn
to me,
the
that
ball
poor
over
guy
so many
has got to
damn
be
times.
just feeling like crap.
Yeah, Bob, I mean, Terry also said he couldn't even acknowledge me. Like, why does that even factor into the equation? So you're saying if Josh kisses the ring, maybe Sean McDermott still has a job today? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is I feel like he's blaming it on Josh because Josh was upset. He's a scapegoat, basically.
You want to take this in a dark place.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob, appreciate the call. I mean, to Bob's point, if Josh is littered with guilt, just overwhelmingly feeling guilty, I'm not the first person to bring it up. I had somebody reach out to me and be like, I hear Josh wants out of Buffalo. I'm like, I don't know where that's coming from, but I understand. I don't know, there's no official reports on anything having to do with that. And the report that we saw is that Josh is going to speak next when the Bills announce their new head coach. Okay. Looking forward to that conversation. But play this out, Gino.
Well, I'll play it out. And let's just say for this year, we're going to be on board, but it goes sideways. This number is alarming to me. that after this season, if it were post June 1st, the dead cap number for Josh Allen is $23.3 million.
That's in 2027.
That is nothing.
Right.
It's nothing. Now, that would be spread over 2 years. Now, if you're really, really concerned, like, oh, my gosh, and again, this is just pure, and again, these numbers are courtesy of Spot Track, and, of course, my computer just kind of froze up. Well, we'll get that number for you, but you get the idea that, and I've been saying this all along in different contexts, like you saw Wayne Gretzky with the wife in Hollywood say, you know what, I'm going to go, I want to be with my wife. Did you notice there's a movie that got nominated for 14 Oscars today?
Sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you're a big cinema fan and the sports bar.
I added that to the list.
Yeah, she's in that movie.
Oh, yeah, the award season.
Yeah. Her career, it's ready to take off. Do you think she wants to live in Buffalo half the year?
I don't know.
We don't know.
I won't speculate on that, but I do think being near family is important when you're starting to raise your family, and they're going to have their child soon. And yeah, she probably wants to be near her family, and I think his family is still in California too, if I'm not mistaken.
Josh Allen, dead cap post June 1st, 2026, $69.7 million. Incoming danger comment.
Well, that's a nice dead cap figure, by the way. The idea that the Rams are going to need a quarterback at some point, I can't shake that idea, man. I can't. I don't like thinking about it. I don't want to think about it. But we just watched a general manager throw his head coach. All right, Bean didn't throw him under the bus. Terry threw him under the bus. And tell me it's not a power play. It's a power play. It's absolutely a power play. You don't think if it goes badly and the blame gets put on Brandon Bean, that if Josh Allen isn't up to snuff, that he's going to find a way to move off of the franchise quarterback, the guy that he drafted, the one guy that he can still hold his head high and say, I drafted that guy. If he got a first round or 2 first-round picks or whatever it is to build the roster back up. Stranger things have happened in the world of sports. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't want to even think about that happening.
Normally, days back-to-back callers. No. This guy we make an exception for. Neil and Williamson.
Hey, Neil, welcome back into the sports bar, buddy.
You know, I have to say, after I heard the ding, ding, ding and being given take of the year, I feel like I should have pulled a George Costanza and left on a high note and never called again. But then again, if this was The Godfather, right, I could either follow up and have a Godfather 2, which was a masterpiece, or have a dud and it be a Godfather 3, which was a flop. So I'm taking some risks here, gentlemen, but thanks for taking my call. Couple things. So I am going to make a friendly challenge, and then I'm going to make a direct challenge. But first and foremost, I had to rewatch that 47 minutes of just verbal diarrhea of that press conference yesterday. Yeah. And you know, there's an old saying from Game of Thrones, like, we're all liars around here and we're better than you. And I really think Terry Pegula didn't know the internet existed, that everything that he said about Keon Coleman could be easily refuted with a simple click. Mm-hmm. Remember, he bragged about that 4.58 40 time that Keon Coleman had. He's a liar. Brandon Beane is a flat-out liar. And I'm going to call him out right now on this fine, upstanding radio program. And Brandon Beane, if you're listening, I will challenge you to a $5,000 debate on this fine show for your punk ass to show up in these studios and debate me one-on-one to any charity of your choice. It could be a real charity, homeless veterans, St. Jude Foundation. In your case, Brandon Beane, either a blindness or deafness because you're tone deaf and blind to your own obliviousness. Any charity of your choice, Brandon Beane, $5,000 to appear on this show for 60 minutes because you need to hear the truth, and I'm calling your ass out. Now, as far as you gentlemen go, I will donate $1,000 to any charity of your choice to come into your studio for 40 minutes to talk like men do at the sports bar about anything you like. And in closing, let me say this. There's an old proverb that I'm fond of. One generation plants the trees, the next one gets the shade. And if this Sean McDermott firing was hired with even a modicum of class as opposed to craft, I would be talking about the next coach being the one that gets us over the top. But the fact of the matter is that I no longer trust this owner to plant the seed for Brandon Beane to then pick from a tree of coaches to lead us to that next level. And we end up now going back exactly where we were 24 hours ago, left in a confused state of wondering what exactly do these people know what they're doing? Do they know what they're doing? Are we now going to regress? And you hinted on before I got on about trading draft picks. And I'm going to even throw this out there. Josh Allen supposedly cried in the locker room. He cried. Nobody wants it more than this guy. You think he looks at this situation and says to himself, oh, my God, these people don't know what they're doing. It's time for me to think about my family, a child on the way, that this Buffalo experiment isn't going to work. And one more time, Brandon Beane, $5,000 charity challenge. You either put up or shut up. You've been called out. Gentlemen, thanks as always for taking my call. As I said, it won't be the first and it won't be the last. Round 2. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Neil. Thank you, Neil. Neil in Williamson. Quickly elevating amongst the ranks of the regulars here in the sports bar.
Neil, great points. I wouldn't hold my breath on Brandon Beane accepting that challenge. Last time he got into a debate with the guys in Buffalo, it didn't go so well for him. So I'm sure he's going to kind of do that. We do have breaking news in the sports bar.
Breaking news in the sports bar.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
Joe Brady's not going to Baltimore as head coach. That's because Jesse Minter has been hired as their new head coach. So the Chargers
look at that.
Defensive coordinator does get the job. And really, we kind of got a clue when Minter was scheduled for an interview in Cleveland today, and he pulled his name out. So the Ravens going defense, which now that we couple that with the passive-aggressive behavior of Lamar Jackson today, where kind of the story is, hey, there's just some random fan saying, hey, my 3-year-old says Lamar Jackson is going to be traded to the Raiders. Is he right? And Lamar Jackson retweets it, then deletes the retweet saying, I didn't actually read the comment.
Which anybody else I'd call BS on, but I think Lamar would actually just blindly retweet something and not read.
Hey, wow, it's a kid wearing my jersey.
Yeah, not read it.
Sure. 866-4FAN. John in Rochester. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. Hey, Neil's fantastic. You got to put him on your show more often.
Okay, John, now I want you to understand something. Neil sets a very high bar. We're taking a big risk letting you in here.
No, like if you come in and say, Terry Pagula, I love him, like John.
You're a troll, John.
No troll takes today, John. Okay, they just got his finger on the button.
Well, I admit I'm mediocre. What can I tell you? Listen, I can't believe I almost fell over. It was gut-wrenching, that loss, no doubt about it. And then they pile on with firing McDermott. I mean, I was down and out. I'm telling you guys, so depressed. But I got to tell you, watching Josh in that press conference, something's physically wrong with him, and I think he's been playing with a concussion and hasn't let on anybody. He was not making sense in that press conference, and there was something wrong on that issue. The other thing is to get rid of McDermott, a huge mistake, no doubt about it. The only way they can recover from this, they've got to do one or two things. They got to hire Dable or Brady because those two guys can keep the cohesiveness within the Bills. Going outside, I think, could be a big mistake. The other thing is, and I haven't heard this mentioned at all, Pagula's got partners now, and I guess Tracy McGrady is one of them. And they're younger partners. They got a lot of money, and I got a feeling they had an impact on this decision, and in making that firing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think that had a lot to do with Pagula making that decision. What are your thoughts?
I don't think so, John. I think that's all Pagula. I think the minority owners are just that, and they gave the money that they gave to be minority owners, and that money went right to the Buffalo Bills and right to Terry Pagula's bottom line. And they're involved, but their involvement is nowhere near what Terry Pegula's involvement is going to be. It was Terry that ordered the code red. I don't think there was anybody egging him on or any of the minority guys saying, "Hey, we need to get."
But and I've heard this theory too. Like Josh wasn't right upstairs. Like he's been concussed. He's taking some shots.
He's absolutely taking shots. Physically, he probably wasn't right. We know he's going to probably have to have a foot surgery of some sort of foot procedure at some point this offseason. So you hope he's able to heal and be ready to go for next year. And by all accounts, OTAs are going to be okay. He's going to be fine. But, yeah, I mean, could he have been scrambled a little bit through the course of the season? No question. None of these guys are right at that point of the season, one way or the other.
866-4FAN. Tony in Penfield. Hey, Tony.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing well.
Good. Hey, a couple of things. The first, I agree that press conference yesterday was a train wreck, and I understand why Terry Pegula hasn't really spoken to the media in about 5 years. I think the one thing, and I don't say this to be cruel, but you get to a guy like this, he's an eccentric billionaire, probably a little bit introverted, and you got to wonder is maybe does he have some Asperger's? Is he on the spectrum? I mean, I feel like that can explain some of his social awkwardness, and even saying things like, "Oh, Josh is crying. He won't even acknowledge me." To me, it didn't seem like something that a typical wealthy billionaire would do, or a business person for that matter. The second thing, and I was thinking more about this when you mentioned it yesterday about Matthew Stafford and the Rams needing a quarterback. So the one key component to that deal that the Rams made with the Lions is that the Lions got Jared Goff in return. So it wasn't just a complete rebuild. They got picks and they got Jared Goff. So I'm going to throw this out there. Would you trade Josh Allen to the San Francisco 49ers for Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy? I'm going to hang up and listen.
Right now, would you trade Josh Allen to the Niners for Shanahan and Brock Purdy?
No.
Hard no on that.
No.
Hard no on that.
But to your point, everything is kind of see, that's a different take. Terry Pegula, Asperger's.
He's old.
He's old.
I'll just say that.
Older.
You can't deny his age, and you do get to a certain age where you just stop giving Fs and you just say whatever you want to say.
Well,
and you don't worry about the ramifications.
No, who's saying no to Terry Pegula in his world?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. He's an alien.
No, but he's at an age where he shouldn't. He's 74. You should still be, if you're going to be doing that, come off better. Like, you should accept coaching. Like, somebody's got to explain to him that was not good at all yesterday. Like, getting up there and who said that? Diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah.
Tom in the city. Hey, Tom.
Hi, guys. I'm going to give you an angle, and I've been really thinking about this, and I think I got it, and people aren't going to want to hear it. But where the Bills are and where they want to get to, it's not a long distance, right? Josh Allen, in my opinion, is by far the biggest driver, obviously, on how the Bills are. So I'm only going to talk about him. But the Denver game, I'm not even going to point to the turnovers. He had opportunities to win that game.
Yep.
And he did it. And I love Josh Allen, so I'm not saying he's not good. He's not a cold stone killer. Mahomes is not missing those passes. Brady is not missing those passes. Don't get me wrong. Josh Allen's Superman. But I'm telling you right now, he's soft. I mean, he's fantastic. But he is not a stone cold killer, because if he was, that pass to Hardman, who's wide open, is made, right? And so I'm sitting there going, and he had plenty of chances, right? He's too emotional, and I am too, as you could tell. And I'm sitting there going, he's crying. Everybody feels so bad for the guy because he's crying after the game. You don't want that man crying after the game. You want him raging angry, right? You want a person that is beside himself, not feeling sorry for himself. And I'm sitting there going, I love Josh Allen, but people need to look at what just happened. And, oh, by the way, don't get me wrong. He's good enough to get almost there. But you gotta be a DIC, you know what, to make it happen. Unfortunately, you do. You got to be a Nick Sirianni, or you got to be a Pat Mahomes, or you got to be a Rodgers, or you got to be a Brady who's got no tolerance for losing. So I don't know why I do know why people don't want to accept that. But if there's a change that's got to be made, it's got to come from the only guy that matters, quite frankly, in my opinion. And I don't know what you guys think about that.
Wow, that's the great points. And with everything happening, we haven't really discussed how that was Josh Allen's worst game. But the point of why was he crying? Was it because, as the caller suggested, like maybe he was actually concussed? Maybe he's just, or like that's a loser's mentality. I'm upset. Or maybe it's, I have blood on my hands because I knew the coach was getting fired.
I like the idea, what he's sharing there. And I've said it a bunch of times. What's the word I'm going to use? It's
Mattable.
It's not a real
No,
word.
mattable.
Mattable.
Yeah.
I want my quarterback to be mattable. And I think the closest we got to Josh Allen being mattable was after week 1 when they won, and he's like, you guys can have a little bit of faith in me. That was
and it was like, yeah, damn right. And if you're a Bills fan, sure, call us out. Great, awesome.
Right. I want my quarterback to be pissed off for greatness. I want him to be mattable. Now, he felt that way. And is he soft? I don't know that I would say he's soft.
No.
But I would say he's emotional. I get that. I feel that. But God, how do you come back from that now? Everybody saw you. The whole league saw you break down like a child. It's tough. And you do got to be a killer. I want killers. We talk about killers when the Stanley Cup playoffs come around. Like, every team needs a killer. I want a guy that's just going to be out there. And like for the Florida Panthers, it's Barkov. The Panthers aren't winning the Cup this year. They've got Barkov. Barkov's a killer. You want that guy.
All right, well then let me just kind of float this out there. Whether it's true or not, would it behoove the Bills to put out the story that actually Josh Allen right now suffered a concussion in that game?
No.
We didn't know. No, don't do that.
No.
Don't do
They've
that.
been lying about injuries all this time.
Yeah.
Why would they start being honest about it now?
Yeah.
I don't know that it helps their
Well,
narrative.
sometimes you don't realize it happens until after the game. I mean, gosh, to his point too, he hits Knox. That's a pass you should hit. End of regular. Never goes to overtime.
Yeah.
All those.
Yeah. Yeah. He grips. He grips a little too tight. He gets a little too amped. And I want him to be a killer. I can't have him being a spaz out there.
No. A little less likable, more mattable.
Lou Anarumo has completed his interview with the Buffalo Bills. So there you go. Dayball and Anarumo today. We got to take a break quickly. We'll get to a round of shots.
Or calls. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, look,
the way we're going
the
here.
calls have been, again, I said it earlier, they've been fantastic the last couple of days. Everybody that's chimed in, maybe with the exception of John. I'm kidding, John. You're a Spartan. We love you. 866-4FAN if you want to join us. 866-4326.
Stay up to date on everything Bills, no matter where you are, with the Odyssey app and the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour.
Yeah, no from the Amerks, by the way.
Yeah, tell me.
Nearing 9,000 for Saturday night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
That's the
military salute against Cleveland.
Okay.
So
military
no
appreciation night.
And with that too, it's our first Saturday without
football. Oh God.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, can we talk about what we're doing a week from Friday?
We can. Yes, we will be at the Blue Cross Arena. That's Hall of Fame night. The Hershey Bears in town, Danger. So
that's a big draw.
Yeah, we'll be broadcasting live 3 to 6. It was either that or do Radio Row. Bills didn't make it.
Like Radio Row was going to have us. Come on.
We're the type of people that McAfee can't stand. Like, oh, you radio schlubs.
Yeah. Right.
Our number 866-4FAN. We will take your calls as long as you want to. Justin calling in from Spenceport. Hey, Justin.
Hey, how you doing? I love your show, and your show's spreading to Bills Mafia. Hello?
Yeah, Justin.
Justin, we got you, man.
Okay, so I just wanted to say, I don't know if I'm taking another take. I'm a counselor at my trade, and I could feel things. And this is the first year that I felt, after he won the MVP, commercials galore. I live in Rochester. But commercials galore. Everywhere I go, Snickers, the gas station, it's Josh Allen smiling. He got married. He's from the West Coast. And I've had this vision, but never had it before because it was always, go Bills, go Bills. I had this vision Josh could leave us. Josh could leave us. And I feel I don't know, maybe Pagula saw that or maybe they saw that, but I felt that this year. And I also saw it on the playing field. He did amazing things to bring us back, but, he was sliding for the first time in his life. I've never seen that man slide in my life. And, he wasn't really good at it, but he was sliding, and I could just see a difference in him. And I know that's the difference being a parent. But I could just see him going, and I don't know, and I never saw that before.
Justin, I think we get the point. He's growing up. He's getting older. He's not the same guy he was when he came into the league.
He's going to be 30.
When he came into the league, who do we draw comparisons to? Cam Newton?
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, and is in terms of decision-making, Brett Favre, don't do that. Don't do that. Stop.
Right. And I think all of that is still in play. I think you can still have the kind of career that Ben Roethlisberger had, the longevity that Roethlisberger had. I think he is better than Cam Newton was. He's eclipsed Cam Newton. He's got a little bit of the gunslinger still in him from this year. You saw it again this year, creeped up again. But the point I'm making is, as he gets older, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't mobile in the late years of his career. He could barely move. The foot bothers me. The idea that he's going to have a procedure on his foot, it might not be major. It might be something that's just, quick and he's fine for OTAs. But he's 30. And it's going to add up, and more of those injuries are going to happen that we will never hear about.
He got sacked more often. I have to look up but this set the record this year.
Yeah.
So
he's going to get beat up, and as he gets beat up, he's going to be less freakishly athletic. Doesn't mean he's not going to be able to complete passes. Maybe he will slide more. Maybe he won't run at all. Maybe he becomes more of a pocket passer.
But what you heard from the caller there, Justin, in the back of your mind, how could it get worse? For good reason, we haven't heard from Josh Allen. We're not expecting to hear from Josh Allen. What can he say? There's nothing he can say. But when the time comes with a new head coach, Oh, we're going to be dialed in unlike any other Josh Allen. By the way, we haven't heard from him since he's sobbing at the podium. Somebody should have pulled Josh Allen. He's still in uniform. If you're that upset, stop. Stop.
Gather yourself.
Gather yourself. Give yourself a half hour. They'll wait for you. Trust me. Like you wanted to get up there and get it out of the way, and then... Yeah, that's the second worst PR move for the Bills this week.
Yeah. Right. Well, he's a sympathetic figure to some, and I think to some others, you view that as a weakness, too emotional. Need you to be a killer. Need you to be stoic. Tough. Just a tough week.
Oh, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. We're going to get snowed in on Sunday and watch Diggs and the confetti.
Oh,
and
God.
we'll show the damn AFC Championship game with him looking on angry. Stephon did it. And he'll be up on the podium with Nance saying, oh, congratulations, Stephon. What does this mean?
I don't like any of that, Gino. No, not a fan of any of it. Nope, do not like it, not one bit. If you missed PJ Glasser, our sports bar betting expert, if you missed Armando Salguero from Outkick, you can find podcasts for the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows. Search the Sports Bar, Spotify, Apple Podcast Works. You can also check out our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester. Like and subscribe while you're there. You'll always have our show, streams, and you'll know when we're going live every afternoon in the Sports Bar. Tomorrow, DA, host of the Bill Maddock podcast. Lance Isowski of the Buffalo News as well. BetMGM tonight next.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7